Okay, so here's how I would suggest you do this next part. So when everyone has constructed their tree, you're going to have all the groups bring their whiteboards up to the front and balance them on the chalk tray of the whiteboards at the front so that everybody can see everybody's tree. Have them do that first before you discuss as a class, and have them answer questions 1 through 5 on their own before you discuss the trees. Okay? And then once you go to discuss the trees, you can answer the 1 through 5 together. So looking at these 3 trees, question number 1 says, can you tell if you got the map right and how? And so if you look at your map, can you tell if you got your map right? Well, the easiest way to do that is by looking at the card. So if you see runner E has all these stamps. So if we trace runner E back on one of these trees, you should see that all the stamps would be fulfilled. So that's a good way to check and make sure that everybody's tree is right. So you want to take a second and have everybody do that. Make sure that their tree is correct. Okay, so that's number 1. The second thing says compare your map to those generated by other groups. How are they similar and how are they different? So if we take a look at these trees, some of the things to point out is that, this one's a square bracketed tree. This one's got the diagonal. This one's sort of a roundy thing. I'm going to flip this around so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so that's some of the things to pay attention to. The other thing you might pay attention to is that the ends, ask them, all right, so this one says BEC ADFG, but this one says CBE ADFG, and this one says GFA DCBE. Does that matter? Right? And so they should be able to notice that, well, no, it doesn't matter that, that I have G on the top versus G on the bottom. Okay, so these two have G on the bottom, this one has G up on the top. Does that matter? Well, hopefully they can see that all I've done is flip the tree upside down. But then we have here FAD, and you say, well, this says FDA, and this says FDA, but point out that D and A are together, okay, and then F is way outside. So D and A are together, and F is way outside. D and A are together, and F is way outside, right? So B and E should be together with C branching off right before. So if we look over here, we've got B and E together, with C branching off right before, and up here we got B and E together with C branching off outside of that. And so what they should notice is that flipping and flopping them at the node doesn't seem to matter, and that's a word you can introduce to them is the branching point, the check point. We call it a node, and you want to write that on the board, node. Okay, so you can flip the nodes around and it doesn't seem to change the relationship. It's still the same map of the runners going through. Okay, the next question asks, can you tell which should come first, the triangle or the star? All right, so if we're looking at these, you can see like this one goes X and then star triangle. This one goes X, triangle star, and this one goes X, triangle star. So can you tell whether the triangle or the star came first in this map, in any of the maps? And the answer is no. You can't tell whether the star came first or the triangle came first. You just know that both of those came somewhere between the X checkpoint and the next checkpoints up the line. And the same is true for on G, whether it was triangle or I'm sorry, square or moon, right? Square, moon. So they both did square, moon, but it could have been moon, square. We really don't know. Okay. The next one, number 4, says, is there a winner in this race? Is there a winner in this race? And remember, with each of these questions, you're going to be asking the students to comment on this before you just tell them the answer. But I'm giving you the answer so we can go sort of quickly. So can you tell whether there's a winner or not in this race? Well, they all made it to the finish line. Now, some students might say, well, G probably got there first because he passed through only 2 checkpoints, whereas these guys passed through more checkpoints. You have no idea, though, if he passed through these checkpoints and then wandered around in the woods for a while before he got here. So we don't know that anybody got there first, but they all got there, right? And we're going to address the winner issue a little bit more later. But no, there's no clear winner. We don't really know. And then number 5 says, which runners have the most similarity in their stamps, right? Who took the most similar paths? So you might say, like, B and E, they probably stayed together the longest, right? A and D stayed together a really long time. Okay, so having a similar path just means that they went through the same checkpoints along the race. Okay, so make sure that everybody understands that the nodes can be flipped around, that you can't tell the order of some of these traits, or some of these stamps, excuse me. You can't tell the order. Now they could have it up and down, they could have it however, but we have to have a clear starting line and a clear finishing line. All right, so once they've got their trees, we're going to go to the next step. So step 2, I would just tell them, okay, now I'll go ahead and do step 2. In step 2, they're going to fill out a matrix. All right, I'm going to actually show this over here. So at step 2, you're going to have them get out their animal cards. So these are these guys that are the animals, and don't tell them which animal corresponds. Oh, actually it tells them on the line. You don't need to tell them because it tells them on the line right here that runner A was a cow, runner B was a crocodile, runner C was a gecko, runner D was a human, etc. And so they're going to take these cards and they're going to fill out their matrix. All right, so to fill out a matrix, they're just putting 1s and 0s. So they're going to look on the card and say, all right, for the cow, so let's find a cow. Does a cow have a vertebral column? Well, yes, I see it on there, so they're going to put a number 1 right here. Does it have 4 limbs? Yes. Does it have lungs? Yes. Does it have an amniotic egg? Yes. Does it have ray fins, which I'm down at the bottom? No, so they'll put a 0. So you're going to put 1s and 0s in all of those, and then they're going to redraw their tree using the actual animals. All right, and I'm going to show you a picture of that here in just a second.